Welcome back to the Musicians Talk Show. It's episode number 108. I'm one of your two co-hosts for the day, Dallas Dwight.
And I'm Matt Holly.
And due to a computer crash, this is our second time trying to knock this out.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
How you doing, Matt? Let's go through everything we just said again.
Yeah, let's go through it again. Yeah, we talked about being stuck at home, obviously, coronavirus. And,
yeah, how's the quarantine treating you?
Quarantine is not that bad. I got to be honest. It's been better than I had hoped. I kind of had a lot of ideas I've been wanting to work on anyways. The concept album I've been wanting to write lyrics for, so I'm kind of working on that a little bit. Plus demos for Prep and Barium. I got my whole living room set up right now with my digital mixing board, and that's what I'm recording the audio through right now.
What board are you using again? I forgot you had
the little Live Track 12 that I bought. It's a digital board, so everything is kind of like you can switch through pages and have a whole nother set of, so it's got like 24 altogether, I think. Kind of a crazy thing. It's cool. It works great. I bought it for podcasting, potentially doing another podcast with a friend of mine, but we never really got it started up. So I've had this board, and it works great for recording like
podcasts.
Live practices too.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. So how do you do that? You run everyone into it?
Yeah, and it has 5 headphone outs, so that's easy enough. Right there's your monitoring for everybody.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, and then having all the pages and stuff like that has effects on it, like some pretty decent effects, and good EQ, a really good EQ channel, like just all of it. It's got everything you need, and it's small, so that's why I got it, and it's working great. It works good for podcasting, works good for demoing songs because you can actually overdub.
What demos are you doing? I want to hear some of them.
Yeah, well, one of them you wrote the music for Black Magic, so we're demoing that now because we've kind of added a little bit at the beginning and added a little bit at the end of it, just kind of make it a little like longer, more rounded of a song, kind of, because it was kind of a shorter song too. And then we're working on another one that's been an idea for a while. We've been just kind of working it. We finally have all the music together, and now we just have to write the lyrics to it.
Nice.
And that'll be an EP out in late this year, probably, for Prep and Barium. We'll see.
An EP? Is there going to be more than just those 2 songs, or just the 2 songs?
There'll be 3 songs. There'll be one more song. I can't really disclose what it's going to be yet because it's not technically known to everybody. Some people know, but only within our circle, so I'm not going to announce it here. But there'll be another song on there that has already been completed, but it'll be re-recorded and done differently.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's our plan. And what do you guys got going on? What have you been doing during quarantine?
We have what have we been doing? Well, we've lost some gigs. I know you guys have lost a couple gigs too.
Yeah.
Well, we've been doing a while back. I came up with a cool cover of Rubber Band Man by the Spinners.
Yeah, I remember hearing a little demo of that.
Yeah, I showed you the demo. I wrote it right after we got back from DC because we were driving back. Foz and I were driving back from DC, and we were talking about like, man, everyone needs like a cover that they kind of really make theirs,
Yeah.
And a lot of the covers we choose to do are already rock covers. So it's like we can't make them any more ours. They're already just us playing rock. So it's like you got to pick something outside of rock to make your own,
Exactly.
So we were talking about maybe Michael Jackson, or in my old band, Osara, we did Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds. Right. We also did Adele, Rolling in the Deep.
Right.
And we did...
That's outside your genre. That's good. Right.
And we did Carry On Wayward Son, which is kind of rock. But so anyway, we were thinking along those lines, and I didn't think anyone would go for it, but I really wanted to do Rubber Band Man by the Spinners. So I came home. I didn't even really talk about it. I just came home and demoed it up because I knew what would happen. I would have told everyone we should do Rubber Band Man by the Spinners, and everyone would have thought of how the song sounds and been like, no, we're not doing that, because they wouldn't have been able to hear what was in my head.
Exactly.
So I thought the best way for me to pitch it is to just go home and make what is in my head, and then I'll show them, and I'll know they'll like it because it's our style. It's what works.
Yeah.
So did that, and they liked it. We started working it in the live set before we never planned on recording it, but now we've planned on fully recording, sending it off to get professionally mixed. Really doing this thing right.
Right.
And we've been doing that so far. So
that's cool.
Kind of in the middle of that process, we have rhythm guitars, bass, and keys done. So rhythm guitars, Daryl and I always get on a Skype call like this and record our guitars together. So we're always able to give each other feedback. And, I'll punch in and be like, how are you playing this riff? I want to make sure I'm not doing anything that's stepping on your toes.
Arrangement stuff.
Yeah. Or like, hey, I came up with this. What do you think? And he'll be like, try this instead.
New
ideas.
That kind of stuff. Right. It's really the collaboration process that you would have anyways, but you guys can do it from home. That's awesome.
Yeah. And it's even better than being in the same studio together, because once we have the ideas, we just turn to our computers and record them ourselves individually at the same time. You can't do that in a normal studio. I'd have to go first and then him, you know?
Right.
And that requires like changing amps, changing guitars, tuning, all that stuff. We cut all that out and we blast it out really quick. And we're also recording DIs for everything in case any mix engineer we use or even us later want to change tones. We can always do that. So
Perfect.
That's a really smooth process. Rasan records everything on his own and then sends it to me. And then Josh came over Friday night and we were doing keys. So we have Rubber Band Man only has 2 keys in it. It's got piano and organ. And the piano really carries it. And it's so much fun working with him on keys because I've never had a keyboard player in a band before. So it's like, it's just super fun.
Yeah. One more creative element to it. You know what I mean? Like that's a whole nother side of it that can like twist
like,
your ear a little bit and you hear something now because there's keys in it or whatever. And then you know, kind of just
it's like adding another paintbrush, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Another color.
Yeah.
You know?
And, and another thing is keyboards and pianos and stuff can solo too. So up to this point, I've been the only one that kind of solos, but now we can do some little twinkles and some organ stuff and some cool stuff in the keys as well.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of like, really when Guns introduces the band, when Axl introduces Guns in the live recordings, you know, the live from 92 or whatever, all that stuff. I love the introduction that he does and everybody gets a little solo kind of thing. And there's just, and it's also like a very jammy, like style jam that you wouldn't.
Yeah. One of my favorites. Are you talking about when they do Move to the City?
Yeah, that's what they're in the middle of, right? They're in the middle of Move to the City.
And it's like that song, because that's like a 3-minute song. And on the live record, it's like 10 minutes. And you're like, wait, what is going on here? It's the same thing with Slash's album, World on Fire. I think it's World on Fire. I actually don't remember the song, but it's one of the title tracks. And it might be World on Fire. But that's a short, like, rock song, 3.5, 4 minutes maybe. And live, it's 18. So I was like, wait a second. What's going on? How is it 18? And I listened to it and they just jam forever in the middle. And then they have a whole like introduce the band segment. And,
Velvet Revolver does that with Slither too. You know how like they add it. It's like way longer live. It's like a whole introduction or whatever. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to do it in the middle of a song. Yeah. We had one of those in Osara. We don't have one of those in this band. And that's kind of something I want to work on. That'll
work its way in. That's how it goes.
And that is just kind of one small part of I want to be working on making a show. Because up to this point, we basically go on stage and play our music live, and then we leave. Yeah. And it's like, well, you could have just bought the record for that. Like, you know, I want to give you a little something more.
That is exactly what Purple Barium's working on. And me and you are always like-minded, thinking about the same kind of ideas and stuff like that. So, I mean, I totally get it. Like that's one thing. Be able to play your set clean and play the music that you've recorded and shown everybody. Now prove to them that you can play it. We've all done that. Like now it's time to add to it and start, you know, giving a little bit, put a little showmanship into it and a little flair.
And we started doing that with we did that with Fake prior to Amos's. We added some extra parts to that. We extend the intro. We stop in the middle and Goliath does a big thing by himself. And then we do a big epic like ending inspired by the beginning of Eruption. How they do the bow, 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 all that thing. We add that to the end of it.
Nice.
So we have some fun with that. But anyway, that's kind of what we've been up to. So our plan for 2020 has not changed. It's actually gotten more extreme. We're releasing Rubber Band Man will be the next release. After that's a song that we're still working on that we did with Taylor Larson called When I'm Gone. And then towards the end of the year, potentially early next year, we'll be coming out with another 5 or 6 song EP. And I think we are we're going to have a solely acoustic song on there, which Daryl and I were coming up with some cool ideas to record. We think we want to go record it in the gym at my church because it's got such a huge ambient sound. And I really want to have like the sound I hear in my head is everyone far away from the mics. Nothing is really close mic'd.
Right. The airy sound.
You're right. You know, where the singer's like 4 feet away from the mic. The guitars are like 4 or 5 feet away from the mic. That might be a little much, but that kind of idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough sound to pull off. You have to also worry about like in phase and out of phase kind of stuff too, man. It's weird things that happen.
Well, we'd probably just do one track at a time or something.
Yeah, I think as long as you use like everybody's the same distance away, like whatever the distance is, it's the same distance away. I think that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's definitely some stuff that I've like thought about a lot, like how good sounds are made and how good records are made. You know, 'cause not everything is an up close microphone. You know, and like different stuff like requires different techniques.
You know the song Guns does, the Charles Manson song? Isn't that one kind of recorded that way? It seems like it is.
It sounds like it's one microphone in a room with an acoustic guitar and a singer. So and that's a different style of recording, and it sounds good, and it really serves that song, you know.
Yeah. I like the sloppiness of it.
Yeah, and the rawness. It's really that rawness. It's not necessarily the sloppiness. It's more of like the stuff that they let go. Like they weren't so worried about getting that perfect tape. It's like it's a rawness.
Yeah, sloppy.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like it's
the opposite of precise.
Sloppy. Well, here's the thing. It's like I wouldn't want to hear a beginner guitar player go play it. Like I'll hear them play it and not have it totally down, but a beginner guitar player playing it is a different thing, and that's what I would call like.
So that's just bad.
Or messy, or just bad, right? Like whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
But to me, I think the rawness is an artist who just created the whatever it is, or just learned it. In that case, it's a cover song, and then put it down on recording. It kind of has that good feeling to it. It doesn't sound over rehearsed or like perfect. So I don't know. It's just there's different things about it. Like I wouldn't want to hear a beginner guitar player try it and then go, "Oh yeah, it's nice and raw." I wouldn't say that, you know what I mean? I would.
But you wouldn't say sloppy either. You would just be like, keep going, man, keep practicing. Like, you shouldn't be recording at that point, you know?
Right, exactly.
But Guns has a real sloppy sound in general. That's just that kind of their whole vibe.
Yeah. Is there something else we were talking about earlier before we
contrast to like Rush, who's very precise. Every note is perfect. Everything is clean. No edges, no dirtiness.
Exactly.
Where Guns is the opposite. It's just like, screw it. I'm not playing what Izzy plays. I'll just do whatever I'm doing, and he does whatever he's doing, and it doesn't match at all, but that's fine.
Yeah, and I like that element to Guns' music, the fact that they all kind of have their own thing going on that still works together in a way. But if you tune in at any one time at what the keyboard's doing, like he's doing his own thing over there. He's got his whole own line and lick he's doing in every part. So I don't know. I like that kind of stuff,
For sure. Well, let's move on. That's a good little update on everything going on in our lives. Because honestly, not a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're going to see with this coronavirus thing, you're going to see a lot of people like doing live streams and stuff like that. That's what's going to be an effect of it.
We've already seen tons of that. It's already been.
Yeah.
Everyone's already doing that.
All right. And let's talk about this, dude. How many bad ones have you seen?
I haven't seen any of them. I've just seen, so-and-so's going live or going live this day, this time, going live,
Yeah, I meant to check out my friends last night, and I actually didn't get around to checking it out. But a friend of mine did it last night. But I've seen now like 2 or 3 of them, and man, they're just super basic how they set it up. They set up a camera maybe like 15 feet away, 20 feet away from the stage.
Well, who are you watching?
Huh?
Who are you watching? Are these like local bands, or is it like a big famous band?
Local rock bands. The best one I've seen so far is the Dropkick Murphys, and that was perfectly executed with multi-cameras and well lit.
Yeah, well, they can't afford to lose their one day a year where people don't think they're a joke.
That's true. Like St. Patrick's
That's
Day
their one day.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't say I don't think they're a joke, but it does seem a little thematic, I would say. It's like it's not the
Nobody's listening to Dropkick Murphys in November. Let's put it that way.
So I know people who do, bro. I know people who do. I promise.
Those people are fucking drunks.
Yeah, well, so those people are normal too. It's yeah, so whatever. They did a good thing getting it out on St. Patrick's Day when a weird timing and stuff like that, and they did it well. That's what we're basically talking about here. Is like the quality of live stream. I think is important, not to just throw anything out there. You know what I mean? Like you have to like do some testing and whatever, and see what this is going to look like, and then look back at it yourself. Make sure you're okay with that. Because when you live stream something, the quality is degraded just to make it possible to get it out there, to live stream it fast enough. You know what I mean? So they can't send all the information as quickly as live.
Yeah, I think live streaming is not the right solution in this instance. I think the solution is recording something.
Yeah, doing a recording, a release of some sort.
And then that way you can release it and then basically watch along with your fans.
Sure.
Because YouTube and Facebook have these things called premieres now, or they have for a while, I guess. Where you can premiere your new video at a certain time. So it'd be like going to a theater, basically. 7:00, we're going to do this. We'll be there to talk to you, all that kind of stuff.
My thoughts exactly. I think you can give a more quality product that way. I mean, live is nice and instant, but much longer does it really take to put a live show on? We're all in quarantine for a while. Most likely, we're not going to be going to do any live shows for this month or next month even. At least live shows. Now, I'm not saying we won't be able to go to the stores or whatever, but the shows and stuff like that are not going to be happening.
No, non-essentials.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to figure out a way in the meantime to give them something to hold our fans over, all of our bands. I'm talking to everybody out there. We have to have something to give them, either a new release, a recording. So if you have the means, like LA Maybe is doing right now, they're recording, and you guys are going to send it off to get mixed and everything. You're kind of held up on drums, I think, right?
Yeah, we're not going to be doing drums until everything, because we can't get together to do drums because Daryl can't leave his house.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. So, and the studio is most likely closed. Who knows? Like,
well, we do everything ourselves. We don't need a studio.
You don't need a room to do the drums in. Oh, you're talking about doing them in the church.
We do them all our own. We're doing drums at Foz's house. We do everything ourselves.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this is going to be our first experiment doing everything ourselves and just sending it away to get mixed. Where in the past we've gone to do drums somewhere.
Right.
We're not going to do that this time because we figured if we can literally do everything ourselves and still get a good quality product, we're going to save tons of money, thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
So
that's it, and that's the point, man. And
we have the ability and the equipment.
Exactly. So that's it. So the idea of it is to make the best of this downtime, and we'll do whatever you can do, because obviously music is kind of one of those things that you kind of have to. It takes preparation, execution, and then release. So there's all that preparation and execution you could be doing, in the meantime. So
right.
There's a lot of music life that is away from the stage too. So this is the time to do it while you have potentially nothing else to do. I think everybody's gonna come out with something after this or during. You know what I mean? I don't see it any other way. If we just get pent up in our houses, this is what musicians do. We write about it and.
Yeah, now what do you think the lasting effects of this will be after everything kind of goes back to normal? Because I feel like we're never, there's always going to be, because this is a relatively new thing.
Yeah. Are you talking about the lasting effects on the music side of it?
Lasting effects on society.
Yeah, lasting effects in society, I think we'll hopefully walk away from this being a little more aware of how germs are spread. I think there's a lot of people who I personally know who don't, keep personal hygiene, and I'm just like you're only opening yourself up for
all these hand washing things and tutorials. I just can't help but think wait a second, were you not doing this already?
There were a lot of people, I'm sure, and then hopefully this disease scared some people into doing it, or this virus scared some people into doing that more often, and I don't know, but and just maybe being more aware of that you can get how these viruses are spread, and how quickly they can just show up. I think it's gonna be more often. I don't know why. I just feel like it's gonna be. You're going to see this more often, kind of like the shootings thing, the school shootings and all their different shootings started coming up, and you see a whole bunch of them. I think you probably see these diseases now too, or viruses, whatever they are.
Yeah, well, I feel like the world population is kind of at a breaking point, and Mother Nature is going to be like, all right, time to clean some shit out.
Yeah, that's Joe Rogan's.
And that's not something that we can talk our way out of. That's just going to happen. There's just too many of us, and the world can't handle it, so the world's going to strike back. And that's not someone we can be like, that's not fair. It doesn't care.
Right. That's just not the way it works. Mother Nature's always going to just be like, all right, we're taking it back.
Yeah.
We let you guys have your phone, we're taking it back.
Yep.
So that'll happen. I don't know. We'll get through this. We'll be smart. Hopefully, everybody is safe.
I'm loving being at home. It was funny for me because when I read all the you should stay at home, avoid contact with other people, do this and that, I was like, okay, so no change in my life.
Yeah, no changes at all.
This is my ideal day.
That's exactly what I thought too. I was like, all right, so we're just gonna stick to things as normal, stock up a little bit, and
dude, I've been teaching all my lessons from home, sitting right here in this chair. I've been teaching better lessons. Awesome. My lessons are way higher quality because I can pull up stuff on the screen, I can send stuff, we can talk, we can slow stuff down, we can do unlimited stuff that we can't do in person, and I don't have to get in my car and drive all over Charlotte during rush hour, which gives me ridiculous anxiety since that car accident.
I know. Yeah, well, dude, it always gives me anxiety too, man. It's a pain in the ass. But yeah, car accident too.
But it's super annoying because where a 9 to 5er has to go in the morning and then at night, I have to go to a house and then from that house to another house, 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 and then home.
Yeah, lots.
So I'm just in my car so much during the week, and it's all during the 4 to 7 o'clock hour.
Yep.
So it's just a nightmare down there. And every day I'm like, dude, I'm going to die. There's people just changing lanes into me, just crazy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm way more cautious of that since that car accident in November.
Yeah. Yeah. Spending the time driving is just more risk anyways. It's just people who fly all the time. You're more risk to be on one of those planes that, has an issue or something.
Sure. And also my bank account hasn't really changed, which is nice because I'm not buying a lot of stuff. No gas.
Right.
Just sitting at home, hanging out,
saving.
teaching.
Yeah. Exactly. When you're out there spending money, everybody knows that. So that's a good point. So you hunker down, save money. Hey, they might be sending us stimuluses, so we'll see what happens.
I saw that. And
hey, dude, I just thought of something about the Week in Review that I forgot. We got reviewed on this for our album review, and they spelled our name wrong, bro.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
this album is so good. It's my favorite album of all time. Spelled the name wrong.
Exactly. They gave us like,
okay, so you're just blowing smoke.
8 out of 10 spelled their name wrong. Where their writing lined up with our album cover that they included in the article, the literally where they wrote our name wrong lined up directly underneath,
right next to it. Yeah,
underneath the album cover. And I'm like,
that's hilarious.
You kidding me? You didn't see it right there? Like,
well,
it's
that's
right
just
there.
That's the power of the internet in 2020. There is no gatekeepers for quality. Exactly. Where in the past you would have editors look at that, you would have at least someone semi-intelligent doing it, and now you have just anyone just vomiting shit everywhere.
Dude,
it's just come on, dude.
You know what's so funny about it is they claim to understand like the prep and barium joke or whatever, but they still think that somehow are connected to like the periodic table thing. So they made a periodic table joke, and they said something about like knocking off the periodic scale or something like that. I forget what it was kind of
ouch.
Yeah, but anyways, I just thought
rough.
it was so. Yeah, I was like, it actually looked bad on them more than anything because I think most people understand.
Oh yeah, well nobody's gonna get mad at the band who's being reviewed because they know you didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, I mean it just makes them look bad. But I mean, I'm glad they gave us an 8 out of 10.
The only problem it does is if it's a good review, it calls into question their character and thinking.
Right.
It's like this band is awesome, and it's like, well, you spelled their name wrong, and everything you wrote was wrong. So I feel like maybe the band isn't awesome.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, I thought that's the thing is that I thought the write up was pretty good. I thought that it was spot on. So I really think they just really overlooked it. Maybe doing this in a rush.
Well, did they spell it wrong multiple times?
Twice, 3 times.
So then that's
count the title.
Okay,
too.
so then
they just really
they just had it wrong. That's not a typo.
They
or something.
just really had it wrong. It's not a typo, right? But I do think that I get it. It's a made up name, a made up word. It's not anything that's it's one of those things. Like I made up a name and I decided to call myself Mathulius Tully, and then you had to figure out how to spell it. You know,
right? Yeah.
But also, it's on the album cover. That's
dude, it's the same thing with us. We get L.A. maybe more often than not. They just leave the V out, or people forget the dots. Just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Exactly, and you're gonna have that. I mean, people are gonna misconstrue your name for a while. You know.
But my first thought when I see that is, well, we chose the name, so we kind of knew what we were doing. We knew people were gonna fuck this up. That's
exactly what I thought too. But at the same time, I was just like, come on! It's the fact that it lines up right underneath the album cover.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That takes just a modicum of effort.
But they do like I think 50 reviews per magazine release. So they do a lot. They're really, I don't know if you checked it out, but we posted it on our Instagram, and it's just a really short synopsis and, kind of a good positive review and everything. But they do like 50 of them. They do a lot of them per release or per issue. So
yeah,
I get it. They're probably doing rapid pace. I'm just, we didn't pay very much to. Basically, we paid to be included in their CD sampler that goes out. That's the only reason we paid. And they're just like, yeah, the interview and everything else. I mean, not interview, but the review and everything like that's free. But we got to add you onto the CD sampler, you got to pay like $25. And we're like, all right, let's do it. So we're on their CD sampler. That's a UK magazine. Power Play. Have you heard of them?
Mm-mm.
No, I don't mean me neither, really. But anyways, I thought that was interesting how a major magazine, or supposedly they say they get to 50,000 people per month. I mean, I don't know, it's not huge, but that's pretty big. How do they fuck that up?
I don't know.
I wrote the guy a mad email. Unfortunately, I played it cool afterwards, but I couldn't help it. It upset me, man. I was like, come on.
You spelled our that's stupid.
Come on, man. What are we in fucking kindergarten here?
All right, so let's move on to something different. We had the idea to, well, let's see here. I can pull it up for you guys.
Do a new top 10?
Top 10 rock drummers.
All right. I like it.
Okay, do you want to go, how do you want to do it?
Let's start from the bottom and then work our way up, and we go back and forth, and then we'll go back and we'll make a major list, a master list.
Okay, so here's what I have to do then. I'll just put the letter A as a placeholder.
Okay.
For both of us. Okay, so number 10, you want me to go first or you to go first?
It doesn't matter.
I will go first. For number 10, I have Brad Wilk.
Ah, yeah, that's a great
From
choice.
Rage Against
Obviously,
the Machine.
Yep. Yep,
Number
and
10.
obviously
Oh, and did you want to
Audioslave.
make a super list? Combine our list at the end for the perfect top 10 list?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
The
Who's your
master
number 10?
list. All right, my number 10, I have Jorma Vic. He's from the Bronx. So
How do
basically,
you spell that? Like that?
Jorma and then Vik.
VIK.
Yeah. So he plays for the Bronx for their first 4 records, and he doesn't play for them anymore. Now he plays for the Eagles of Death Metal, which is Josh Homme's band, from Queens of the Stone Age.
Mm-hmm.
That he started with a friend of his, so it's just a kind of a side band. But they were actually that one of those bands that got targeted during the shoot up in Europe.
Yeah, I remember that.
So,
That was a big story.
Yep. So, anyways, Jorma Vic though has always been a favorite of mine. Just the power he puts behind the drumming and everything he is, and so I don't know. And I've seen him live a couple times. He's awesome. So I wish he was still with the Bronx, but he was also with the Mariachi El Bronx. He did the samba style drumming or whatever that is, like where it's stand up drumming.
Mm-hmm.
What is that called? I forget. It has a name.
Just percussion, hand percussion, I guess.
Yeah. But he even did a killer job at that. So it's just like, this guy just rules.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Number 9 for me, the Rev from Avenged Sevenfold.
Right. So he's obviously got more than just rock chops. He's a metal drummer as well, but he does definitely play with more of a rock style in their later work. Or I guess now it's not their later work, but on the later side of his end of the work.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So,
Who's your number 9?
My number 9, Travis Barker, from Blink-182, and also like Transplants, and also other hip hop
Good
things.
Lord, I can't type.
So Travis Barker, I just think is a percussionist, through and through, like through all genres, through all, and just, I don't know, killer, in my opinion.
Killer drummer. Daniel Kyer and I, when we were kids, we were at the party he was at, where he then left and got in that plane crash.
Oh shit!
We were at that party in Colombia.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. Number 8 for me, Matt Sorum.
Ah, man, you're just
I'm gonna
off
put Guns. He's been in a lot of stuff, but I'm gonna put Guns.
Yeah, the Cult and Guns are his big claims. I have number 8, Sticks It In Ya from Steel Panther, because I love his attack and style, and also he's like a conglomerate of like all the 80s rock.
Yeah, that's a really
drummers.
good pick. I love him. His vibe and power and everything is just so perfect.
Yep.
Number 7 for me, Danny Carey from Tool.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't have Tool on here. That's a good one.
Danny's a monster, as well as just groove for days.
Yeah.
And all the odd meters and just the precision and power behind his hits.
I agree with that choice. I didn't think of him. Matt Sorum I have as number 7. So GNR, The Cult, and Velvet Revolver are his 3 big things.
And part of the reason I'm messing up is because my webcam is right in front of my face, so I have to like look around it to type.
That's hilarious.
All right, so number 6 for me, Steve Gorman from the Black Crowes.
Oh, good one. Good choice. Yeah.
I don't think he would make it on a lot of these lists, but I put him there because much like Steven Adler, he has like a pocket and a groove and a vibe that other people just can't match.
That's the thing for
It's
rock,
not something
too,
you can teach. It's just something he feels that he conveys through his drumming.
That's kind of the same as the guy I'm not getting ready to say too is John Bonham. He's just got this like pocket and feel, and that's what made him so great. Not necessarily like the technical chops. So my number 6 is John Bonham.
Well, Bonham had all the technical chops too.
Yeah, he could do a lot of technical chops, but I don't think he was like necessarily the fastest drummer or anything. He played with that traditional style, right? Am I right in saying that? I'm no drummer, but I'm pretty sure
he played normal. He's kind of the godfather of rock drumming.
Okay, but I thought he had like
that's why you're going to see him later in my list.
That underhand style.
No, he never really did that.
Oh, okay. I thought
he played normal.
All right. So, anyways,
number 5 for me, Joey Jordison.
Oh, good one. Definitely.
Slipknot.
Yeah, definitely
a monster. And
drummer.
The first person I can remember hearing was like a phenomenal drummer, because I was probably in first grade when one of my friends showed me Slipknot, and I didn't know anything about guitar, anything about music, and all I remember hearing everyone say was, "Their drummer's insane. Listen to their drummer."
Right. Yeah, I kind of went at my list more like as I tried to stay rock. I guess you kind of even like, because Joey Jordison's like, he's an amazing drummer, but I just think
I think rock metal's kind of the same thing though. It's kind of all in the same category for me.
Okay, well, I would have reserved metal drumming because I think there's a lot more to be said in that category. I think you have to kind of, for me, drumming is like there's two different styles. There's a rock and there's a metal style drumming, in my mind at least. And then obviously there are other genres, but I mean, the drumming in these two styles kind of seem night and day to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's an obvious double bass element to metal music, and like I kept most of my drummers in here are all single bass drummers. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple in here that are exceptions, but I don't know. I try to keep it rock. So just that's the difference in our lists, I guess. So number 5, is that what we're on?
Mm-hmm.
I have Neil Peart from Rush, recently deceased, and obviously, you know, probably the god of like progression rock drumming. I think like most people look at him, you know, as that.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff Porcaro from Toto.
Ah, yeah, nice. Yeah, and
Who
Toto,
also,
man.
did I
Like,
spell that right? Oh, this is
I
A. Yeah, and he's also a session guy who's played on like damn near everyone's album.
right. That was the thing about him. He's like
Steely Dan, Rod Stewart, Elton John, just everybody. He was the drummer for.
Right. The guy from the Hired Guns was on everybody's drums too. We had him on the.
That's Kenny Aronoff. Yeah,
Aronoff. Yeah,
Porcaro's like the father of Kenny Aronoff in a way.
Yeah, and we had him on our show. What episode was Kenny Aronoff? Do you remember?
I don't even have a good
remember, but
maybe
he was on
40s somewhere in there.
Yeah, he was on our show. He was early on. So.
Yeah, he was awesome. He's like a firecracker, man. I said, "Hey, what's up?" and then he just launched and he didn't stop for an hour. And I was like, "This is awesome."
Those. I love those because that's
Such
what I
a cool
want. I want
guy.
the most out of them. When we do an interview, I want the most out of them, and that's always what,
Yeah.
those type of guys give us. All right, I had Neil Peart for 5. We said that. Number 4, I got Alex Van Halen. You know why?
He's probably pretty underrated, but also I've never really been blown away by him myself.
Well, like think about things like Hot for Teacher, like the stuff that he did that was like just innovative. I think in rock drumming, like and kind of just took that stuff. I think there was like a special built pedal he made or something like that to do that sound or something like that. I really don't know the details. I might be totally wrong, but I've thought that there was like kind of a story behind that sound. That sounds like a motorcycle in the beginning. Sounds like a Harley Davidson.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Yeah,
I think so. I think it has that kind of rumbling, rolling sound.
Yeah, definitely does.
Who'd you have for number 4?
Jeff Porcaro.
Okay, so yeah, you're number 3 now. Okay.
Number 3, that's where I put Neil Peart.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Just precision,
I figured
overall
we'd have some of the
skill,
same.
definitely gets him high up on the list. But
Yeah,
I think
and I
the
figured
one
we'd
thing
have-
he's kind of lacking for me, and why I didn't put him in number 1, is I don't think Neil Peart has like the feel that I like. He's
Right.
just very much on the grid. Every note is perfect. He's very much a perfect drummer, which is great, and it takes a lot of skill to be that way. But for me, he's missing like something that like Steve Gorman has and Matt Sorum, where they can just really make you groove with a drum beat. They don't have to do a bunch of craziness.
Yeah, and that's all preference, man. It's like these lists are 100% preference because obviously the greats of drumming are known. You know what I mean? We're kind of putting them in our favorite list, you know. And then when we go to put this master list together, it's kind of ours both put together. So obviously Neil Peart's already made the list. He's on both of our lists. So we'll figure out where he goes here in a minute. My number 3, I put Dave Grohl, obviously of Nirvana, and he played for Queens of the Stone Age.
I'm gonna put Nirvana.
And he played, obviously plays for the Foo Fighters, and I'm sure he's a huge influence of how the drums sound on that in that band.
Well, Taylor Hawkins.
Taylor Hawkins is amazing, but I'm sure
He's a monster
that,
too.
I'm sure he gets along with Dave, and what they both want is the same. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Number 2
what
for
else
me,
is-
I put Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
yeah,
He's
he missed
to
my
me,
list,
he's
but-
the master of the groove. Anything he plays gets you moving, and
Yeah.
he's got chops for days to back it up. Particularly with his hands, he has some fast hands.
yeah. Will Ferrell's better though.
Yeah, much better.
Yeah. Well, widely known because of his appearance of Will Ferrell on that video on SNL, or was it Conan?
It
or
was
what
on like Conan or Fallon or something.
one of those. But yeah, it's so good, dude. That's so hilarious. I'm so glad that they did that.
I'm glad they did that because I've been saying that for literally years before they did that. I was like, Chad
Yeah.
Smith looks exactly like Will Ferrell.
Yeah, he's got that look, man. It's crazy. All right, so my number 2 is Tommy Lee of Motley Crue. I just like, I don't know. I've always been a Motley Crue fan, so for me, all their music, is classic and just legendary. And obviously, his drumming stands out in that, and his showmanship in drumming. Obviously, he's inspired a lot of people with his roller coaster drumming cage and all the different things. So I don't know. I put him on the list at number 2.
All right, my number 1 is John Bonham.
Wow.
For the very reason that no one else on this list would exist if not for him.
Yeah, that's true, man. Everybody's inspired by him. Everybody.
If you talk to every drummer, they're going to say John Bonham's the reason they play drums. Yeah. And John Bonham himself has the feel that I'm looking for and the ridiculous chops. And not only that, he was one of the first people to do those chops. Yeah. So while everyone else is kind of playing a John Bonham lick, he wrote the lick before anyone else did. So yeah, he's got to top the greatest of all time list in my mind.
Yeah, I had him at number 6, but I mean, listen to who I had him at number 1. And you're I don't know, you didn't even have him on your list, so
let's see.
Mike Portnoy of Winery Dogs, bro.
Well, no, dude, nobody knows him from Winery Dogs. They know him from Dream Theater.
I know, but if you think about rock drumming, I think that's where he shows off more of his rock style. And
sure, but if you're talking about Mike Portnoy, 10 out of 10 people you ask are going to be like, oh, Dream Theater.
But think about what a massive sound he gets on Winery Dogs sound, dude. And like what he goes from dynamically, like down to the softest song down and into like the most
phenomenal drummer. I won't argue with you on that, but not greatest of all time.
Adrenaline Mob is another, I'd say they're probably a little more on the metal side or maybe hard rock
Great
metal.
Stuff. Yep.
Also, but I don't know. I just think I think the world of Mike Portnoy, and also Avenged Sevenfold. His work with Avenged Sevenfold.
Yep, his work with Nightmare was really, really awesome.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's our lists. You got them all written down.
Yep.
Do I need to send you mine? You got them all. Cool.
Yep. Let's do the. I'm gonna do the master list up top.
All right. Now here's the thing. I can't see your list, so you have to kind of remind me as we go.
Okay. Cool. You want to read through them
I know
again?
we both had Neil Peart. We both had John Bonham. Did we have any other ones than that?
Yeah, we had Matt Sorum.
Oh, Matt Sorum. Yep. And you didn't have Dave Grohl, did you?
Neil Peart and John Bonham were the ones that we had.
Those three. So those are right there. Could potentially be the top 3.
Now, what order are you thinking? Do you agree with my argument for John Bonham taking the number 1 spot?
I agree. I agree that he's extremely inspirational to pretty much every drummer. So he definitely is obviously.
Why is it adding these random things when I paste this?
The legendary drummer. Yeah, I think especially out of the top 3 that we have, I think it's John Bonham, Neil Peart, and Matt Sorum.
Okay. Now keep in mind when you put someone somewhere, you're saying they're better than everyone below them, right?
Kinda. I mean, the fact that we both had them on our list gives them.
Yeah. I like all that. Now, the first 3, I think I agree with. I would agree John Bonham's better than pretty much anyone else on the list here, dude.
You think Matt Sorum goes above Neil Peart?
No, I think Neil's above Matt for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's just put him there
I think Matt Sorum would obviously say that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
He would be like, dude, you're an idiot.
Both of those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
So
okay, so I'm gonna erase them down here so we don't get confused.
I love kind of in a like best rock drummers thing. Like, what else have the person been a part of? Like, what else have they done? Like,
that's
how
true.
many projects
now
have they
to
been
your
in?
argument, we can probably get rid of Joey Jordison in the Rev just by a miscategorization. Is that a word?
I would say so.
I would say we can get rid of Jorma Vic because he just hadn't been in the game long enough, and he's also not even in that band anymore. Right?
Doesn't have the clout. He's not in the band anymore, but he's in another rock band in the scene. So but he doesn't have the clout. You're right. He just doesn't have the history. So all these other drummers we have some extreme history. So
okay, all right. So here's what we're left with to fill the remaining 7 slots: Chad Smith, Jeff Porcaro, Steve Gorman, Danny Carey, Brad Wilk, Portnoy, Tommy Lee, Dave Grohl, Alex Van Halen, Styx Adenia, and Travis Barker.
Okay, so right off the bat, I like Brad Wilk.
You like Brad Wilk? Okay, well he's in the running.
And I like
what are our criteria for putting someone on this master list? They have to have what?
Well, like rock drumming is like it's a song serving purpose too. It's like it's something that has character more than it has technical chops too. Like I think
to be
Smith
in the greatest of all time, you have to have those chops as well. So you have to have feel, you have to have chops, and I think you have to have clout. Those 3 things get you on this list.
I like Mike Portnoy a lot for what he did in the Winery Dogs and like showing that he can be like a rock drummer, like really doesn't.
Yeah, but
doesn't
I mean,
overdo it.
you can't say that'd be like saying you like Slash because of the stuff he did with Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but that's not what people know him for. Like,
not really. Not really though. Like what he did with Michael Jackson.
Or okay, here's what it would be like. It'd be like saying you like Slash because of Slash's Snake Pit. It's like, yeah, he did 2 albums with Slash's Snake Pit, which is what Portnoy's done.
Well, if it was in the genre, like if Snake Pit was the genre we were trying to categorize in, and I said Slash because of his work in Snake Pit, I don't see what the problem with that would be. You know what I mean? If we were talking about specifically, I don't know.
You don't, well, because you don't get into a greatest of all time list based on some like obscure side project, basically. Now, the Winery Dogs,
obscure?
The Winery, I think they're very obscure. Compared to Dream Theater, dude, very obscure. Dream Theater is massive. And Winery Dogs, almost everyone I ask has not heard of them.
Yeah.
So now we know them. We're in that world. We've seen them live. We know all 3 of those guys, but we can't confuse that for the fact that they're a very small band.
Yeah.
They played Amos's. Come on.
But I'm also just looking at like the technicality that he brings to a rock drum style, and I just really do think that he brings it harder than any other rock drummers. You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming
I'm not
from
saying
that.
he doesn't have a spot on the list. I'm saying you shouldn't categorize him as the Winery Dogs drummer because that's not what anyone's going to know him as.
Yeah, and I guess there's rock.
Well, here's another example. That'd be like saying Jorma Vic for his work with Eagles of Death Metal. It's like, well, that's not why he's famous. Like,
exactly, not at all. Not at all. So I would say that then you could consider the fact that Dream Theater definitely has rock elements to it. Lots.
Yeah.
Even though they are a very much progressive metal type thing, they have a rock side to it. A lot of their songs do. And so Mike Portnoy kind of obviously he could still be considered that.
I think Portnoy, if Neil Peart has a place on the list, then Portnoy has a place on the list because that's his biggest influence.
Right.
Let's put him at 5 for now.
Okay.
But I did put Dream Theater by his name, not Winery Dogs.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I understand your argument.
Who can we eliminate? I think we can eliminate Steve Gorman because as much as I love him, he doesn't have the clout we're looking for.
Exactly. He's not nearly...
I think we could probably eliminate Styx Zadina for the same reason.
Same reason. He's too new.
Now you have Travis Barker sitting down there at number 9. What do you feel about him? I don't think he has what it takes to beat out these other guys.
I think if anything, he's probably at the bottom of our list, mainly for clout too. Like as far as like, obviously he's been part of Blink 182 and like a lot of other like kind of hip hop side stuff. Transplants is a big name, and
now he produces and all that stuff. But that's not why. We're not talking about a production list.
We're talking about drummers, right?
Right. So now he's a phenomenal drummer. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Someone I think should absolutely be on this list is Jeff Porcaro.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna try to go through why real quick. Let me see if I can pull up an internet browser here. I'm going to just talk you through a little bit of his discography. So first of all, he did all of Toto's stuff for the most part. Now, other artists, I'm just going to go through Joe Cocker, Steely Dan, Tommy Bolin, Boz Scaggs. Right. I'm skipping a lot of them. Hall & Oates, Diana Ross. A lot of names I don't know. Pink Floyd, Aretha Franklin, the Brothers Johnson, Peter Frampton.
Yeah, huge.
Crosby,
project.
Stills, and Nash. Michael Jackson, he's the drummer for Thriller. What more do you need?
Damn,
Elton John, Herbie Hancock.
Well, he's on the list. Let's put him. You can put him at number 4 if you want, man. I think he's probably one of the most underrated drummers. You know, maybe.
Well, he's a studio guy, so he's kind of in the background. But yeah,
right.
But I'm going to keep going because I'm not even getting started here. Don Henley, Dirty Laundry. You know that song? That's him.
Yeah.
Michael McDonald, George Benson, James Newton Howard, who's a film composer, Lionel Richie, Paul Simon, Randy Newman, Chicago, David Gilmour, the Jacksons, Paul McCartney, Joe Walsh, Eric Clapton, Earth, Wind & Fire. Got to pause for breath here. I'm skipping a bunch because I don't know them. Celine Dion, Madonna, Bruce Springsteen, Michael Bolton, Cher, Richard Marx. That's a good one.
Sold to the gentleman with the long hair on the other side of the stream. All right,
Rod
I'm in.
Stewart.
I'm in. Put him at number 4.
B-52s. I'm almost done. Roger Waters, and then his brother, Steve Porcaro. All right, Jeff Porcaro, number 4. If you needed any more of a
when you said Roger
argument.
Waters, you know what it reminded me of? Did you hear that Kenny Rogers died? Kenny Rogers is dead.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that just happened like the other day, I think. Maybe yesterday. Crazy news. But anyways.
So here's our top 5. John Bonham, Neil Peart, Matt Sorum, Jeff Porcaro, and Mike Portnoy. Now we need 6 through 10.
Yeah.
And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people for 5 slots. So let's do this. We have to eliminate 2 more. Can we agree to eliminate Travis Barker and Brad Wilk? Because he's number 10 on my list and Travis is number 9 on yours.
Man, I really like Brad Wilk on your list, but that's fine. Yeah, I think if you guys
the very bottom of the list is one thing going against it. But yeah, of course we love all these guys and plenty more.
Let's do that, of course.
Okay, so now we just have to order these. Chad Smith, Danny Carey, Tommy Lee, Dave Grohl.
I like Dave Grohl for number 6 spot.
Okay, what's making you think that?
Just the fact that he was the drummer for Nirvana, which was, I don't know.
He brings so much power and passion to the instrument. I think he's very rightfully deserves number 6.
Absolutely, and I mean the Queens of the Stone Age.
Not even to mention all the other stuff he does, singing and guitar and Foo Fighters and all that stuff.
Yeah, we're talking about drummers. Just if you look at him just in a rock sense, I think he's got it. So
which is why I didn't put Foo Fighters, because he was the drummer for Nirvana. Okay,
right, exactly.
Both of our number 2s are still in the running: Chad Smith and Tommy Lee.
Okay, well, both of those got to be in there somewhere, like right here.
Well, we have everyone that we have left. We have the right number of people for the right slots. We just got to choose what order.
Right, and then who else we have after?
Alex Van Halen and Danny Carey.
Oh, okay. And Danny Carey, give me a background on him again.
Tool,
right. And that's it, right? That's really all he's known for is Tool?
I think that's all. I mean, he's probably done some other stuff, but yeah, Tool's his band.
Because I think when you talk about like the best rock drummers of all time, you have to look at the ones who have been a part of multiple projects. It kind of gives them more credibility, because if you've heard of them...
I don't know, because the top 3 we have, or the top 2, Zeppelin and Rush, they were never really did anything else.
Right. No, I'm not saying that they have to, but I think that's a big part of it. And just be a part of... I mean, just being Tool, like...
Actually, everyone we have left hasn't really done multiple projects to my knowledge. Now, they've done some other stuff, of course.
Right.
But not to the degree of like, they haven't been in 2 major bands or anything. Like Chad Smith, for example, he drums on all of Glenn Hughes stuff. He does a lot of he's always in the studio doing stuff, but it's not a big long-term band you're going to hear about.
Right. Yeah, if you look like Matt Sorum, like the Cult, Velvet Revolver, and GNR, like that's
Velvet Revolver and GNR for sure. The Cult I've always taken issue with, because yes, he was in it, but it was basically for 1 album and 1 tour, and that band has a lot of albums and a lot of tours, so he is a very, very small part of that band.
Yeah,
he was not the original member. He was not on any of the recordings that we all know. He was just. I really take issue. Yes, he was in the band, but it's like he wasn't really a.
He
big
just jumped
part
in.
Of
he
that,
was just a fill-in member, really. Yeah. That's true. But, he did an album with him, so there's, a little bit. He did an album
and a tour, to my knowledge. Now, that could be wrong. He could have done 2 tours, but,
Well, either way, I think that's where Guns N' Roses picked him up from. So
they went and saw the Cult, Duff and Slash, and they were like, "Who's this guy?" And they got him from there. So yeah,
exactly. So
that was just coincidence.
It might have been a coincidence, not like he blew up from the Cult and they found him, right?
Right, exactly.
But they like the Cult. I know that Duff and Slash both like the Cult. So
yeah, for sure.
Oh, anyways.
And Matt's a phenomenal drummer, so.
Yeah, so let's go. So we need to pick between Tommy Lee and
Chad Smith for the number 7 slot.
Chad Smith.
And whoever doesn't get it's going to go in number 8.
Yeah. All right, well, how can we split these two? How can we break them down?
Well, okay, I'm going to say Tommy Lee gets the higher spot because he's literally famous for being a drummer.
That's true.
And also for probably being a crazy person, but he has a star power that Chad Smith doesn't have.
I would say that. I mean, Chad Smith looks a lot like Will Ferrell, so he almost has the star power.
Yeah, he could just say he's Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're left with Alex Van Halen and Danny Carey.
Okay, so
wait, what did I do? I think I messed something up.
You were gonna put
holy crap, did I mess something up? I think
Tommy Lee and then Chad Smith.
I deleted too many names. We have to add one of our names back.
Oh no. Travis Barker, did you leave him in there or not?
We can put him in number 10 if you want.
I think he should be number 10.
Okay, done.
And then who's our number 9 then?
We are debating between Danny Carey and Alex Van Halen.
Oh. Okay. Wait a minute. So we had 6 Dave Grohl. 7 was who just decided Tommy Lee.
Dave Grohl was deleted on accident. Okay, never mind. That's
what happened.
We can kill Travis Barker. Yeah, I was.
Okay. That's what I thought happened. I was going to say. So now we're done between Danny Carey and between Alex Van Halen.
That's what I thought, and I was confused when I looked up and we had 3 slots left for 2 people. Okay, so I mean, I think Alex Van Halen probably takes the top slot.
I don't know, man. Danny Carey, Tool. I thought that was a really good one because, man, as far as like progressive style, but Van Halen has such a big name, it's hard to decide. I hate to put Van Halen at the bottom, to be honest.
I have Van Halen at the bottom, Danny Carey at number 9, or do you want to swap it?
I don't know. God, that's so hard. That's a hard one, man. Because I don't think either of those guys deserve to be at the bottom, but it is a top 10. So,
Well, then we have it. Here we go.
All right, call it.
Master list. Coming in at number 1, John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. Number 2, Neil Peart from Rush. Number 3, Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses. Number 4, Jeff Porcaro from Toto, and millions of others, obviously. Number 5, Mike Portnoy from Dream Theater. Number 6, Dave Grohl from Nirvana. 7, Tommy Lee from Motley Crue. 8, Chad Smith from RHCP. 9, Danny Carey from Tool. And 10, Alex Van Halen from Van Halen.
What a crazy list, man. Crazy. Cool. Well, that's how it goes, man. You kind of have to whittle through them and, take the best of both of our lists and, prioritize. It's kind of hard, but I like talking through it because it makes you contemplate what it is about these people that, about these artists.
Yeah, and you have to consider multiple factors, which is what I like.
Yeah, and there's like all kinds
criteria.
Of things. Exactly. Depending on the list title, you have to kind of decide what that criteria is. So.
Right.
So we went with rock drummers. We kind of eliminated some of the more metal guys. And now eventually we'll do a metal drummers. And then, those same guys that were in the rock list will end up in the metal list too, but we'll probably end up farther in the list,
Yep. You're right.
No, I like them. These are fun.
Yeah, these are super fun. We have to come up with a couple more clever ones. You kept saying a couple times of the best debut album.
Yeah, I like the best debut album because I actually have a playlist full of debut albums and of the ones that I like, obviously. And
what's
I
the
really
criteria for that? What would the criteria for that be? Sales performance?
No,
it has to be more than just personal preference. Because then I could just sit here and be like, well, this is better than that. It has to be. You have to have some sort of something other than personal preference.
Right. Well, yeah.
Sales performance.
We could bring sales performance into it, but I think
critical reception. There has to be multiple factors. It can't just be like, well, I like the Bronx. No,
right. Yeah, I know what you're saying. And I take that, when I throw those names and stuff like that in there, I know that they're not going to be the number one on the list, but maybe out of all the things they end up at the top 10. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I like throwing other things in there too, just to kind of let people know that there's other people out there that are really awesome too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment. I just don't know that belongs in a true top 10, with credibility at least,
Yeah.
Because it's like if I'm gonna put my friend's band up against the Beatles, it's like, come on, dude. Well,
the Bronx isn't my friend's band.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Of course, I'm exaggerating for an effect.
Yeah, and I'm not putting my band in there. Even if, I think my drummer's incredible. I'm not putting I'm not doing totally shamelessly. I'm trying to I really do think that he's an amazing drummer. I think if people check him out, they might agree.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just because he's not the main guy that everybody thinks of, just because he's not the drummer.
But that's what I'm saying. The main guy that everyone thinks of, that's the top 10 list. You know what I mean?
But then you're kind of leaving it kind of closed.
It's you have a top 100 list. Then of course those guys sneak in the 70s and 80s and stuff. But for a top 10, it's going to be a really hard pitch to pitch some of these lesser known guys against Neil Peart or John Bonham or these legends that started entire genres that these guys are now just playing in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, but ultimately, you end up with kind of what our list was 5. The top 5 were those guys, and then the end of it, the next 5 were kind of more the open-ended end of the spectrum. It's you have to kind of go more modern.
Well, the open end of our spectrum was Van Halen, Tool, Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Blink-182. Those are pretty massive
and
bands.
Nirvana, right?
Because for me, a top 10 list has to have, or of all time, I guess.
Right.
If you were saying top 10, my favorite drummers, very different from best.
But isn't best perspective? I mean, that's totally subjective.
It is best as perspective to a point, but there also has to be there are some quantifiable elements. Neil Peart, let's look at Neil Peart. He's sold X amount of records. He's played on X amount of records. His career spans for X amount of years. He's widely renowned,
Let's take the record sales out of it, because how can you quantify anybody in the future with no record sales? Because there are no records. You know what I mean? There won't be.
That's where sales. The time factor comes in that I keep talking about. Right. The greatest of all time, you have to have time pass.
Right. What I'm saying is that no modern drummer is ever going to surpass Neil Peart because they don't sell records anymore.
Not probably in the next couple years.
Yeah,
but not ever.
You can't use it. You can't use it as a gauge anymore, because that's not how it's gauged anymore. As far as new drummers aren't selling records.
But you're also right in saying that greatest of all time. If you're saying all time, that list will probably not change unless some total freak comes along, because all time considers all time. And you're going to have to pass people that started rock and roll. drumming.
Yeah.
John Bonham
Yeah.
created rock and roll drumming.
Yeah,
Like,
and I do think there's room for progression. I think that the drumming still has room to go for progression and pushing the instrument and all that. And I think that you can't use like record sales to a point because you're going to exclude basically anybody 2005 or whenever records really dropped off. They're going to push them all
sure.
off the list.
I'm not
There's
saying
no
that's
way
the
they're
only
ever
thing.
gonna
That's
stand a
one
chance.
element. That's one element
Right.
of it.
Right. And you have to like kind of somehow quantify what streams mean, you know, how
But
much
think about
streams
someone
they've had.
like think about like golf. Greatest golfers of all time. Tiger Woods is probably going to top that list.
But
Greatest
golf hasn't
basketball
changed
players of
like
all
music
time.
has. But
Michael
golf
Jordan's
hasn't
gonna top
changed
that
like music
list.
has.
Huh?
Golf. My point that I'm trying to make is that music changes in a lot of ways and how it's received. Obviously, it's changed platforms in many different times.
Sure.
How it's sold, how much money it's sold for. Like a lot of things. Golf is something that's a sport is made to be like
Right, but you didn't let
be
me finish my
scrutinized
point.
over time.
My point is that you ask anyone on the street who Tiger Woods is, and they know. You ask anyone on the street who Michael Jordan is, and they know. You ask anyone on the street who Tommy Lee and John Bonham is, and they probably know. But some of these deeper people, they're not going to know who they are, and that means they're not in the zeitgeist yet. They're probably a phenomenal drummer. Not saying they're not, but they haven't earned their stripes yet, if that makes sense.
I know what you're saying, but what I'm saying is nowadays music is looked at differently. Those people that are idolized are not necessarily rock drummers anymore. You know what I mean? Who are idolized are the pop singers, I would say, more than anything. And not that they weren't back then, but rock and roll had a much bigger place in that.
Yeah, I don't think that a
time.
rock and roll drummer was ever idolized, though. They were I'm talking about being well known.
Neil Peart. I mean, those guys are like idolized for their drumming. They inspire.
And that's
other
why
drummers
they
to-
deserve a greatest top 10 all time spot.
if
Until
you
you're
use
idolized
that as
by
your
most
criteria,
people,
hey,
you know.
The way we got started on this, we were talking about the criteria you use to make the list. That's how we got started on this conversation. So it just depends on how you make your criteria. If you make it record sales, then you're excluding anybody in the modern day because they're not going to have the record.
You're
You're
a little one track minded about it. It's not record sales. It's record sales plus this, plus that, plus this, and you go down the line.
Well, if you take record sales right out of it for any modern drummer, then aren't you automatically giving them less credit than the people who had record sales because back then records were sold? Like, you know what I mean? Records aren't sold now. You can't hold that against new drummers. That's not fair to hold that in the same list. So you have to look at it. I think you have to look at it as progression. Notoriety is huge for sure. Obviously, people knowing somebody's name, you know, on the street or household names, that's huge, obviously. So we use that for sure. And I think there's a lot of modern drummers nowadays who have notoriety too. Travis Barker being one of them. I mean, as far as name wise, you know what I mean?
Pretty much everyone on our list is still alive. Pretty much. Porcaro's dead. Bonham's dead.
Neil Peart's dead.
Neil Peart just died.
Yeah.
That's only 3 of 10. Everyone else is still alive, I think.
The Rev you had on your list, I'm trying to remember who our top 10 list was, but yeah. Yeah, most of them are still alive. That's true. But obviously, I mean, how old is rock and roll? It's only like 100 years old. The Roaring 20s, think about it, we're only like 100 years.
It was after
from
that.
the
It started in
20s.
like the 40s and 50s, really.
Right,
40s,
so think about
50s
it.
even.
Rock and
with
roll
Elvis.
is not even 100 years old. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
It's the nature of rock and roll is why so many of them are dead. 4 of them are dead already. So.
But some of these guys that we put in here that are 7, 10 years in, I don't think they can hold a candle to the old dogs that have been doing it for 40, 50 years, their entire life. They were there when rock and roll started, and they're a big reason that it is what it is.
What does
You know?
hold a candle mean? What does hold a candle mean? Are you talking about as far as their notoriety or their playing ability? I don't think that's the case. I think there's
No, everybody can
good
play the
drummers.
same. Everyone on this list is a great player. That's why we have to
Right.
take that out of it almost.
Right.
You have to
But
think about all the
well,
other things.
Not only, you can't just take it out because obviously some of them are better players than others. Like I think it's just
But when you
they
start
all-
putting together the best drummers you can think of course they're all great. Of course.
Do you think that
That's the
Dave Grohl
baseline.
is? Do you think that Dave Grohl is as good a drummer as Mike Portnoy?
I don't
Like,
think
in-
they play the same styles, no.
Right. And
But I think
that
they're
what-
probably, if you're talking their styles, yeah, they're both good drummers, you know?
Yeah, they're both amazing drummers. They both made a living off of their drumming. We could easily say. But could you say that Mike Portnoy can do more with his drumming than
Sure,
Dave Grohl can
absolutely.
do more than do? So
Yeah, that's
I
why
would
he's
think
higher
that
on the
there's-
list.
There's a little bit,
But they both have put out more than 10 records each, and multiple
Right.
of those 10
Right. And
have
that-
crushed in the charts, sales, zeitgeist, YouTube views, whatever it is. They have
But-
crushed.
Yeah, and I get that, and that we're definitely including that, like how many bands they've been in and stuff like. But there is a little bit of ability in there. I think that you have to include
ability for sure. Yeah,
which is why Mike Portnoy is high on my list, because I know what he can do. He can obviously do metal. He's done
but the problem with
then
putting ability at the top of your criteria is that I can go find some insane Chinese kid who's just way better than Mike Portnoy at 12 years old.
Ability is one, right? Ability is one criteria. It's just one part of the puzzle. Obviously, the clout and the notoriety, all these things are part of the puzzle. But if you start throwing record sales in there, I think that's when you are starting.
It's not even sales though; it's performance. Performance is the same no matter what. But if you put out
money is a stream worth versus how much money a CD's worth, you know what I mean? Like, so what do you gauge it off of? A stream
performance
or a
as in general
or
public reception and well-knownness. I don't know,
Yeah, and then it's hard to quantify.
Like
now
I don't have to see any sales numbers to tell you that a Dream Theater album performed better than a Bronx album. You know what I mean? I don't have to see a goddamn thing. I just know that's how it is because I know how it just kind of permeated the zeitgeist. It'd be
interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see, but I do know what you mean. Like, it's not just about sales. It's about like how much interest there is in it. How much people are gonna go look at it.
And you know that just from talking to humans and like, everybody seems to know who Axl Rose is, so he must have done something good.
What's kind of cool about streams is you can kind of tell how long something stays hot for, because every time somebody goes back to listen to it, they get the stream, right?
That's another really good point, because we still see Rush, Zeppelin, a lot of these bands just performing better than so many other bands in streaming, and they don't even do anything anymore. Like,
exactly.
So 50 years, 40 years later, they're still destroying.
So that's something that's more points, I think, in the book. Maybe streams, like right now, streams per month or whatever could be a huge thing we could use as far as like who's performing well. You know what I mean? Like, and who's still on the top charts. You might want to look into that, because you can do that. You can go to Spotify and see how many streams a band get per month or whatever. So
yeah, now the difficult part with streaming is there's so many platforms. So on Spotify, you're only going to be seeing one chunk of the pie, and he got only 1,000, and then really he got 40,000. They're just all on Apple Music,
Exactly. We have to pick one or two major streaming platforms and just kind of get a gist really quick. It's the only way I can think of to do it. But I think that gives them a lot more points as far as like. Otherwise, you're looking at like songs that did well maybe in one certain era, or especially if we get into more songs or albums. You know what I mean? We can really look at that kind of thing. But I don't know. This is fun. The lists are fun to break down because we consider why a band is great.
Yeah,
I like that. So makes us question it.
Yeah. The hardest thing, or one of the biggest contributing factors, is longevity, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely
the fact that I still have 12-year-old students being like, I want to learn Tom Sawyer. Like, dude, what year did he record that in? Was it the 70s? Like,
exactly. That makes
what
powerful.
I mean? Like,
that means it made an impact on society, man.
Right. That's the thing that I'm talking about.
Right. Exactly.
That impact on society is got to be a big criteria as far as the all time.
It is.
Right.
It is. Yep. But I think that throwing a couple wild cards in there can only just keep the whole thing in perspective too, because we know we're only going to whittle it down to 10.
Right.
So I don't mind having like one or two in there that are just kind of like maybe like where, even if they don't make the list, where do they stack up? Like, how big is this spectrum? It kind of it kind of puts it all into perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there are those drummers that are amazing and can do, like Jorma Vic is an amazing drummer, but obviously he doesn't have the clout that somebody like Dave Grohl has. Like, just put it a part of so much hit, music that everybody knows.
And if you do, it's another thing. If you do one album that does well, that's cool. But when you consistently have every album do well over like 40, 30, 20 years, like that's something different. Like, okay, now that's not just a fluke. That's not just a societal happened to be in this place at this time and you got lucky. That's something that you have, that you are just good at this. Like,
Yep. I mean, and obviously they've stayed in good light in the public eye too, so it makes them, at least a little bit of credibility as far as being a good person,
For sure.
So,
or maybe not a good person, but
a fun
something.
Person, nice person, who knows, whatever. Anyways,
well, that's going to do it.
Yeah, let's wrap it up, brother.
We did it.
Back to our quarantine. We
Top
made it
10
without
rock
the computer
drummers.
crashing.
I got another podcast right after this. I'm just podcasting all day.
Oh, man. Podcast quarantine.
All right, you guys. Well, we will see you next time. Have a good week out there. Be safe.
Peace.